Have you ever dreamed about visiting that special country you heard so much about, but just didn't know where to begin? Or perhaps you thought about one day working in that country, but just didn't know how to go about seeing an employer for an interview? Maybe you've done your research into that country's immigration website, but are still stuck or unsure about the requirements for getting a visa. In case by some small chance you didn't catch the title, or identify the stunning unspoiled images of scenery, the country I'm referring to is New Zealand. Yes, with its diverse environments, rainforests, beaches, mountains, lakes, glaciers, and even volcanoes, who wouldn't want the opportunity to see the splendour? Whether you want to come here to visit family, friends, play sport, get married, or just holidaying as a tourist, I've laid out a guide for getting a visitor visa and lend my advice on how to avoid the most common mistakes when applying. But Richie, you might say, getting a visitor visa is easy. It's no problem. Well, Mr. or Mrs. Expert, tell that to the tens of thousands of people whose applications are refused or turned away at the border. For the 2016 and 2017 year, a total of 31,563 visitor visa applications were declined, which does not include applications which failed lodgement requirements or the ones Immigration New Zealand refused to even consider. It's best that we start by getting this out of the way. Some groups of visitors don't need a visa to travel to New Zealand. Australian citizens or permanent residents complete an arrival card on the aircraft, end up applying for residence on arrival. British passport holders can visit for 6 months or less, and residents of visa waiver countries, like those listed in the table here, can simply board a plane and visit for no more than 3 months. But what's this? One country is missing. On the 21st November 2016, South Africa was removed as a visa-free country. The reason? Some passengers have been found holding counterfeit South African passports. It's a shame the majority have to pay the price for the misdeeds of a few. As a result, all visitors from South Africa need to obtain a visa before travelling to New Zealand. Welcome to the club, South Africa. Unless stated under your visa conditions, the standard length of stay is 9 months. You should be aware that if you have recently visited New Zealand and wish to visit again, you can only do so if you spend no more than 9 months in an 18-month period. This is calculated backwards from the last day you intend to be in New Zealand. For example, let's say you want to stay until 1st of June 2018. Counting back 18 months, this gives us a date of 1st of December 2016. Within this period, you can only stay a maximum of 9 months. Despite this, if you've been allowed to spend a period of 12 months in New Zealand as a visitor because of these exemptions, you will have to remain outside of New Zealand for another 12 months before being eligible to apply for another visitor visa. I'm afraid you can't include any siblings, aunties, uncles, and especially your cousin's husband's nephew. Sorry, but that's a big no-no. However, if you have a partner and dependent children, you may include them. The conditions on their visitor visas will be the same as yours. Your partner can be by marriage, by civil union, or just be in a de facto relationship with you. Now, to be considered dependent, children have to be aged 19 or younger, single, and if they are aged 18 to 19, must have no children of their own, and be substantially reliant on you or your partner for financial support, whether they live with you or not. If any children do not meet the criteria, then they must apply for their own separate visas. Let's talk about fees. How much is this going to rattle the piggy bank? For paper applications, the going rate is 184 New Zealand dollars, while those applying online will pay a lower fee of typically $165. So why the price difference? Well, I'm proud to say that we in New Zealand get that you can do a lot with 19 bucks. You can make a trip to one of our exquisite dairies and buy a few high-calorie pies. Or perhaps you'd like to soak your body in one of our lovely mud baths, which may stain and leave an awful rotten egg smell on your swimming itinerary. Now $19 won't pay for this overpriced treatment, but it will contribute, and that's what counts. So yes, Immigration New Zealand is committed to saving your money. No, but seriously though folks, who really knows the reasons behind this price difference? But I suppose $19 isn't that important in the grand scheme of things. What is important is that immigration has this useful fee finder tool on their website, which is specific to the country you're applying from. It tells you where to lodge an application, how long it will take to process, and how much it's going to cost in your country's currency. I will leave a link to the fee finder in the description. Useful indeed. You might be wondering, well, what about my family? Do I have to pay separately for my partner and my children? You only have to pay one fee for all the people included in your application, except if applying for a group visitor visa. More on that later. The biggest reason people fail with their applications is because immigration considers that they are not genuine visitors. Immigration policy has this special term called bona fide, which means you have a genuine intention to visit New Zealand temporarily. In case you didn't notice, that last word was spoken with a particular emphasis. A bona fide applicant is a person who genuinely intends to stay in New Zealand for a lawful purpose, and in the opinion of an immigration officer, is not likely to remain in New Zealand unlawfully, breach their visa conditions, or be unable to leave. It is your responsibility to prove a genuine intent and lawful purpose. Even if you meet all the mandatory requirements for lodging an application, for instance, you may successfully complete the form and provide the required documents like a medical certificate, an immigration officer is still well within their power to refuse you if there is not sufficient evidence before them to convince them that you're just coming here for a visit. They are not obliged to ask you for more. So how can you go about showing this genuine intent? Well, let's start with section G of the most recent May 2017 visitor visa form. Question G2 asks if you're applying for a visitor visa, what is the purpose of your visit to New Zealand? Below which are a number of checkboxes that can be ticked off, as well as a very small space of 2 lines for explaining any other purpose that is not covered in the checkboxes. Whether your answers to this question alone will be sufficient depends a lot on your personal circumstances, such as your family ties in your home country in New Zealand, your assets, financial situation, employment, or other commitments in your home country, or lack thereof. Let's look at a few scenarios. In scenario A, we have the Ivanov family. Now Mr. Ivanov is employed as an air traffic controller on a respectable salary in Russia, where he and his wife and 2 children are citizens. They have noted down on their application form that their primary purpose for coming to New Zealand is for a holiday. The Ivanov family have a large extended family who are all living in Russia. They have many assets back home, including their house, cars, furniture, and so on. They have never been refused a visa in any country they have been on holiday to. The chances of them succeeding are very high. In scenario B, Sean is a South African national who has been out of work for nearly 2 years. He is fully qualified, but is struggling to find a job. Despite this, he has enough money saved to buy a travel ticket to New Zealand and a return ticket home. The last family he has in South Africa passed away a few months ago. He has a brother established in New Zealand whom he longs to visit. Sean's brother has agreed to sponsor him. Sean's chances of getting a visitor visa are significantly less than the Ivanov family, due to the fact that he has no real incentive to return to his home country. He's out of employment, low on funds, and has no family ties in his home country. The real strength in his case lies in his genuine intention to visit his brother. With scenario C, Mandeep is a young man from Punjab, India. He has finished his secondary schooling but has only ever worked part-time while as a tertiary student in Australia. His family had raised funds for him to pay for his studies and maintenance costs while abroad. However, during his time in Australia, Mandeep slacked off during his studies and failed to attend his course. As a result, he was declined a further visa and overstayed for 6 months before being deported back to India. He has written on his application form that he wants to visit New Zealand to look for a job. Furthermore, he has left blank his answer to the question as to whether he has ever been removed from any country. Mandeep's situation is pretty dire, and his chances of getting a visa are slim due to his appalling immigration history and the fact that by neglecting to answer the character questions in the form appropriately, he is seen to have provided false and misleading information. We lawyers work in probabilities rather than absolutes. No matter how difficult it seems, there's always a chance for victory, just like there's a chance for defeat when the cards are stacked in your favour. The Ivanov family may get away with simply ticking off the holiday vacation checkbox at question G2. Nevertheless, I would still advise any similar clients to provide immigration with an employment contract and a letter from an employer approving leave for a holiday, which should state when an employee is expected to return to work. You could provide copies of documents with regards to assets you own, like property, vehicles and so forth. Letters from close family and friends can also help show your desire to return to maintain those relationships. Remember, immigration can only consider the information before them. It is up to you as a visa applicant to ensure that all necessary information is put before your case officer. Your goal should be to provide anything that goes to show financial security and an incentive to return to your home country. Basically, immigration needs to know that you won't flee the first chance you get, work illegally and get paid under the table. For the Mandeeps out there could be a very good reason for why a fresh application should be accepted, despite a poor immigration history or circumstances. For example, in scenario C, our Mandeep may have failed to attend his classes due to a health condition, which forced him to see the doctor on some days he was studying. This may have not been canvassed in submissions before he was deported, but it can be evidenced now by way of a prescription and a letter from a doctor confirming this. Along with robust submissions from an effective lawyer, may just be enough to turn the tide in one's favour. As for our man Sean, I would have advised him to get letters of support from his brother and his brother's family, explaining how they would like Sean to meet the wife and children, and perhaps the places they'd like to show him in New Zealand. Certified copies of the brother's birth certificate and passport would prove the brother's relationship. Now, someone like Sean who is out of work could certainly do with a job in New Zealand. Whilst in South Africa, he may have tried searching for an employer online to try to source a job by putting through his CV. If Sean has a skill that's needed by a New Zealand accredited employer and they offer him full-time work, he'll be able to get a visa to work here. But some employers won't offer positions until after they've met face-to-face for an interview. So the question is, can I apply for a visitor visa in order to look for a job in New Zealand? Yes, you can, but be mindful about what you are putting down as the purpose for your visit on the application form. A visitor visa is granted on the basis that you temporarily visit New Zealand. It has not been expressly made for people coming to New Zealand to look for work. Remember, immigration's chief concern is that you are a bona fide visitor. If your intention is to attend a job interview, and you have written confirmation from a potential employer about the time and date of this interview, or if your primary purpose is to holiday in New Zealand and experience the country firsthand while deciding whether or not you'd like to stay here, the department will generally be able to grant you a visitor visa. What immigration cares most about is that you will go back to your home country if you don't find a job. For a guy like Sean, this might be a little tricky to prove because we know he has no job or family back in SA. This is why showing evidence relating to your status in your home country is so important. No matter your situation, be honest with Immigration New Zealand. If the department think you have misled them, it becomes way more difficult to succeed with another visa application. Once you get here, and if you are lucky enough to be offered a job, you are free to apply for a work visa. I don't want to spend too long traversing over how to fill out the form or what documents you need, as this should be fairly obvious. Read the application form and guide to completing it. I'll leave a link to both in the description. What I will say, briefly, is that there are a list of documents all applicants must provide. otherwise your application will be returned to you. You will need a visitor visa application form, INZ 1017, or if you're applying within the Auckland region, form 1111. Yeah, there is a whole other visitor visa form for Auckland region applicants. Watch out for that. Also needed are 2 passport size photographs for each person included, original passports, medical and chest x-ray certificates, only if required complete the form to see, evidence of your relationship to your partner and children, which can include a marriage certificate and birth certificates, among other docs, and financial evidence which shows you can support yourself and anyone else included in the application. Keeping up? Good. Food, clothes, transport, accommodation, all the bills add up quickly, and immigration needs proof that you've got these expenses covered. Now you might be one of these fortunate people who has a New Zealand friend willing to sponsor you. If you have a sponsor, they need to complete the sponsorship form for temporary entry, INZ 1025, and agree to give you maintenance funds, accommodation in New Zealand, and pay the cost of airfares out of the country. If you do not have a sponsor, you need to show evidence of your own funds, which can be from bank statements, bank drafts, or letters of credit. How much you need to show really depends on whether you have prepaid accommodation. With accommodation, it's 400 New Zealand dollars per month. Without, it's $1,000 per month. And please be aware that this is for each person included in the application. So yes, if there are somehow 6 of you without prepaid accommodation, that's $6,000 per month. Only the immigration department will want you to think about leaving before even stepping a foot in the country. Whether it's tickets to travel out of New Zealand or the money to buy them, immigration needs to know that you can afford outward travel. I want to make it crystal clear. The information I've given only concerns your everyday general visitor visa. There are plenty of other categories as shown here. Please look carefully to see if you fall under one of these special classes, as each have their own specific requirements that may better suit your needs. Well, that's it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this video enlightened you on some of the workings of the immigration policy when it comes to getting a visa to visit New Zealand. Do subscribe to stay tuned, and if you have any suggestions on content you want me to speak on, leave a comment below. My name is Richie Bro, the immature lawyer, and as always, have an amazing day.